It's the final day of competition as just two events stand between individuals at the CrossFit German Throwdown and a trip to Madison, Wisconsin. The top 5 men and women from this semifinal advancing to the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Sean Woodland and Annie Sakamoto inside the studio here. We start with the men. Your overall standings after 4 events. Lazar Dukic has a 4-point lead over Jonne Koski, and it's Alex Kotoulas who has a 10-point lead over Luka Dukic for the final spot that goes to the CrossFit Games. Event number 5 has a lot of rowing, a ton of handstand walking, and some legless rope climbs. The reps on the legless rope climbs and the distance you need to travel on the row and the handstand walk decreases as you work your way through the event. And those handstand walks, not in just a straight line.
Right, and first of all, let's just say, those of us that don't speak metrics, 60 meters is 200 feet just to open up on the handstand walks. These athletes have to switch in every 5-meter increments. That's when they have to switch directions. But I think really that's going to be a blessing if you think about the 60 muscle-ups they did yesterday and the legless rope climbs that are coming up following that handstand walk. Let's
get you out to our featured matchup for the men in event 5. Brandon Domain and Jamie Hagia have the call, and they begin with the box assignments presented by CBD-MD.
Top 6 athletes ready to go for event number 5. The top 3 will be on the top line here on our screen of 6. Lazar Dukic, Jonne Koski, and Giorgos Karavis, 1, 2, 3 respectively. 4th through 6th will be Fabian Beneito, Alex Kotoulas, and Luka Dukic, and they will make up our 4th, 5th, and 6th positions on the bottom line as we're ready to go for event number 5. This will be the much longer test of the 2 on the final day of competition. It starts with a 2,000-meter row, and I got to imagine this is just going to be just making sure you don't blow the engine here at the start of this event, Jamie.
The 2,000-meter row is really just setting them up so that they will be under fatigue heading into these high-skill movements. Handstand walking and legless rope climbs are 2 pretty high-skill movements that if they row, this row should take, you're looking anywhere between 7 minutes, maybe a little bit over that if they're being conservative. So that is one thing you want to be looking for. Coming out nice and smooth. You don't need to race through this. You have a good 7 minutes of rowing before, so coming out nice and controlled.
Nice long row to get the warm-up basically before a 60-meter handstand walk and then 5 legless rope climbs. The second round will be a 1,000-meter row, 40-meter handstand walk, 4 legless rope climbs. The final round, a 500-meter row, 20-meter handstand walk, and then 3 final legless rope climbs to complete this event with a 30-minute time cap. And they're going to be on this rower for quite some time. You were saying around that 7-minute mark. But I think the thing that almost gets a little easy to forget with these athletes is what they've had to do the past 2 days as well before this event even starts, and how that's going to fatigue the body as well.
I tested this workout this morning and I was exhausted, and I thought about these poor athletes that did 4 events before this. So they must be feeling this full body, but I guess this is a nice way to start out. It's, you're going to kind of flush out some of the stuff. They can't, even though it is a longer row, they have to keep on moving. You can't just cruise and take it too easy because you don't want to fall too far behind.
And one thing to keep in mind as we are on the final day of competition here at the German Throwdown is our point standings. These are the top 6 athletes after the first 4 events. The top 5 will get a spot to the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games. And the current 6th place athlete is Luka Dukic. He's going to be behind that cut line by 10 points, but he's 25 points clear when it comes to the last chance qualifier that'll be happening in a couple weeks. So that's kind of this weird position now where you're almost as an athlete thinking, hey, do I want to just go for it and try to get that qualifying spot outright and just go 150% today? Or do I want to try to just conserve a little bit and hang on to one of those qualifying spots for the last chance qualifier? This adds a whole new element to things here.
Definitely you want to punch your ticket now. You put in 2 days before this, 4 events, you have 2 more to go. You really want to make sure that you give it all you have so that you can secure that spot this weekend and not even have to worry about a last chance qualifier. But the nice thing is that if you don't, you do have a second chance. So it's not the end of the world if they're on that cusp right there, but definitely try to handle your business today.
three men have broken away from the rest of the field when it comes to the point standings. That would be Lazar Dukic, current point leader. He's 81 points clear of 6th place. Jonne Koski, 77 points clear of that cut line. Giorgos Karavis, 61 points clear. But then you have Fabian Beneito just 21 points ahead of it, and Alex Kotoulas 10 points ahead. So they are well within that danger zone when it comes to falling out of the top 5 as we start the third and final day of competition with this 30-minute time cap event. You'll notice on top of everybody's individual box that red line that is extending from left to right. The farther it extends towards the right, the farther they are through the event itself, as they continue to work through this 2,000-meter row, probably around that halfway, maybe nearing about 60% of the way through the 2,000 meters. And at this point, it really just feels like this is going to be, like you were saying, that prep, making sure that you don't wear out too much before the higher skill movements. But is there anything you can do on this row that just kind of makes it where you're still feeling somewhat fresh, or is it just going to be you're not going to be there at all at this point in the weekend?
The difference is this isn't a 2K row for time. When we all know how that feels when you go hard and you give it everything you have and you just fall off that rower. So the nice thing is that they're going to go at a pace probably a little bit under that red line, still going pretty hard, but still conserving their energy so that they have, you know, the energy and the strength to go ahead and get into those handstand walking and the rope climbs. Big drive back with their legs, chest nice and upright, reaching in, getting a big pull back. All the red numbers on the top of the bars, they all look about even, so it's hard to tell who's in the lead. Maybe Luka Dukic and Lazar Dukic, the brothers, and Jonne Koski.
It's funny seeing Lazar and Luka just doing this event in the same exact spot at different times, but a little interesting there to be seeing that as we work through this virtual deal as both brothers training out of the same facility. But they do appear to have a slight lead over the rest of the field. Jonne Koski and Alex Kotoulas seem to be the closest competitors for them. Still about a couple minutes away before we start seeing these athletes make their way off the rower and to that handstand walk. But how about the showing thus far this weekend for Lazar Dukic? Points leader, he has been absolutely incredible this weekend, as he has yet to have a finish outside of the top 7, including a win in event number 2.
Very impressive, and maybe he took off his shirt so you can tell the difference between the two brothers. His brother in that bottom right, he's in that top left, same spot, set up exactly in their gym. I'm sure they wish they could have done this together to push each other, but yeah, because they're in the same event, they definitely, you know, that would be a little bit unfair to some of the other competitors.
Should be in the final minute or so of this row, as it's Lazar Dukic and Luka Dukic, based on our progress bar, seem to be the farthest two through it. Again, Jonne Koski and Alex Kotoulas not far off, but everybody all around that same pace, and it looks like they're all moving about that same strokes per minute even, where nobody really going too crazy here, whether it be slow or fast when it comes to that rate.
And honestly, if you conserve a little bit of energy on this rower, if you come off the rower 5, 10, 15 seconds behind, but make that up without rest in your handstand walking or your legless rope climbs, that'll be a huge difference. So you don't need to kill yourself in this row, nice and controlled to make sure you have that energy to go for those handstand walking and rope climbs.
And it's going to be Giorgos Karavis, the first one through. Another thing, as he starts on that handstand walk, this will be for 60 meters. Jonne Koski should be getting close. Saw him starting to shake out those arms, possibly thinking about the handstand walk that's going to be coming up shortly. Lazar Dukic with a great transition on the top left. He gets right off the rower and straight into the handstand walk and making that look very smooth. 20 meters down for Karavis. 20 meters now down for Lazar Dukic. Luka Dukic and Jonne Koski also working towards 20 meters. Alex Kotoulas there as well, as Fabian Beneito will bring up the rear of the field, getting off the rower from that 2,000 meter row, still under 7:25.
If you saw Jonne Koski, he wasn't the first one off. He was actually probably the 4th or 5th in that top middle box, but look at him just going on these handstand walks. He's going to cross that line. As soon as he comes down, he's going to turn around, kick back up, and not wasting any time getting those first 60 meters.
Looking like the game's veteran that he is. Jonne Koski with quick transitions, very smooth. And mention that game's veteran status in this screen of 6, this virtual heat. He is the only athlete with games experience out of these 6. And that could go a long way here on the closing day of competition at the German Throwdown.
He definitely knows his body. He knows how to push, where to take a break. See, he's going to rest before he's going to kick up for his last. I think he's on his final. He should be close to his final set of handstand walking. We'll see in the top middle.
Everyone's still looking very fresh on these handstand walks.
The nice thing about this, being in 5-meter increments, is that you do have to complete the full 5 meters before you can come down, but you do get to come down before you can turn around and come back. So that is nice for some of these guys to not have to go a long distance. They get a short break and can shake it out before they jump back up into their handstand walk.
I believe this is going to be the final lap for Giorgos Karavis, but Jonne Koski is going to be the first one through. He went from 4th to 1st over the course of the handstand walks for 60 meters. Unbelievable pace for the Finnish athlete. And Koski already through 1 rope climb, and he's going to have a good advantage over Lazar Dukic and Luka Dukic, as well as Alex Kotoulas, who are now on to their first rope climb as well.
That's that veteran move. Knowing if you're not the first one off the rower, you still can make up time and get ahead later in this workout.
Seeing a few different styles of making their way up and down the rope, or at least going up the rope here on these legless rope climbs. As Jonne Koski opening up a lead. He's about 12 seconds ahead of the field after the handstand walks, and that is impressive because he was about 15 seconds back at the end of the row. He made up some great time through that 60-meter handstand walk. I believe he has 1 rope climb remaining, and he should be the leader after round number 1.
It's incredible how this is a very difficult movement. Usually we get to climb ropes with our feet, you wrap it around and get a little bit of support, but legless is all upper body. You're going to feel that in your biceps, but to take hardly any time, and he's straight back to it, and Jonne Koski in that top middle.
Right back to it. 10 minutes, 11 seconds for Jonne Koski in round number 1. And it'll be Lazar Dukic, the points leader, will be second, about 15 seconds back at 10 minutes, 26 seconds back to the rower. Luka Dukic, the first man behind the cut line for one of those games qualifying spots, will be third. Alex Kotoulas, who currently is the bubble athlete in 5th position, will be 4th to the rower. And the early leader, Giorgos Karavis, still working on those rope climbs. And now that's going to be a question of, was the row a little too fast, or was he going fast because the handstand walks and or the rope climbs were just going to be troublesome for him, and he wanted to get as much time as possible there?
Each athlete has their strengths and weaknesses, and they know in these workouts, if he's going to struggle a little bit more with handstand walking and rope climbs, he's got to push on that row to give himself as much time as possible if you're taking longer breaks in between these sets. But I will tell you, going straight from those legless rope climbs into that row, your forearms, your shoulders, your biceps, you feel it everywhere. So the first couple pulls on that row, you're really driving back with your legs and trying to get the feeling back in your biceps and your arms. And then they'll settle into a nice pace for that 1,000-meter row.
Amazingly enough, it's basically flipped in our running order here as we get back to the rower for the second round, as Giorgos Karavis, the early leader, is just now making his way to the rower about a minute and a half behind Jonne Koski. Koski went from 4th to 1st. Fabian Beneito is going to be holding on to that 5th position, but it really feels like our top 5 has really just inverted itself over the handstand walk and the rope climbs.
We see that a lot in CrossFit, in events. You know, you start off, especially in competition, your adrenaline is rushing, you want to get going, so you start out a little bit too hot, a little bit too fast. So making sure that if you can hold that, that's great. But if you end up kind of crash and burning towards the end, we have to make sure that we come out under control the workout, and especially from the start.
The second round here. Yep, absolutely. As a second round here in event number 5, 1,000-meter row, 40-meter handstand walk, and 4 legless rope climbs in this middle round. The last round will be half that amount, just about, a 500-meter row, 20-meter handstand walk, and then 3 legless rope climbs. And similar to what we saw in one of the events yesterday, right now, you finished that first round, you're right around halfway through this event. As you see those progress bars, for most of these athletes that are deeper into this 1,000-meter row, they've gone to about that 2/3 of the way through position. So they're knowing that they're on the back end of this thing, even though they're still starting that second round. But one thing I kind of want to go back to with Karavis, and we were talking about how hot you come off on the rower and if there's some strategy to it and all that. One thing that you don't have in this virtual environment is you don't have that Coliseum crowd or that arena crowd that might carry you a little bit. And I feel like that could go a long way with somebody if they're starting to struggle a little bit at this point in the weekend of a competition.
The third and final day, these people, you know, your bodies are exhausted, but definitely the feeling of and being out there on that competition floor and knowing that everyone's screaming and cheering for you, it definitely helps give you that extra little push. But I know these competitors, a lot of them have their friends and family and gym members there, which is great. So hopefully getting the same type of feel.
Jonne Koski believe he's done, and he is, but right at the same time as Lazar Dukic, who has made up a 15-second gap on that 1,000-meter row. But Koski was much faster on the rope climbs and handstand walk portion of that first round. We'll see if he can continue that. And look at the transition time for Jonne Koski. He's not even standing straight up in between these turnarounds. He's getting right back into it, as it's going to be 4 laps this time, back and forth, as it's 5-meter distances between each line that they're having to cross.
Jonne Koski's handstand walking is so fast and efficient. You see him with his legs bent, his knees are bent, so it's almost like in a scorpion position. He's kicking with his feet, so it's going to move and propel him to go faster in his handstand walking. You see when he turns around, he doesn't even stand up. You're right, like you were talking about. He's going to stay hunched over because he knows he's going to go kick up and go straight back into his next set of handstand walks.
Should just be 1 lap remaining for Koski in the top middle box on your screen. Lazar Dukic was tied with him getting into this handstand walk portion of the round, but Koski has reopened up the lead. Alex Kotoulas in the bottom middle and bottom right, Luka Dukic are 3rd and 4th, but Koski now making his way to the rope for the set of 4 legless rope climbs, and he'll be a couple of seconds ahead of Lazar Dukic, who has held his own on that handstand walk, and we might have a race here between the top 2 athletes in the point standings as we head towards that final round.
You'll see both of the athletes, Lazar Dukic and Jonne Koski, on the top 2 boxes to your left. In the middle, they're going to jump up as high as they can because that's going to take away some extra pulls that they're going to have to use. They're going to use their legs to kick up to give them a little bit of momentum. Definitely, as soon as you touch that mark, you're putting your feet on that rope and you're going to help yourself slide down with your control with your feet.
And on that last rep, at least, it really starts to feel like Koski isn't so much faster on the rope climb on the way up. It feels like he's faster on the way down. Just more comfortable with that descent back down that rope. As you can see, Lazar kind of trying to hook the feet a little bit or just kind of pausing there. And I think that really becomes an underrated part of the rope climb, is just the descent is where you can make up some time as well.
Jonne Koski will get his feet right on there and he'll almost like fireman slide down that rope, which is very fast and efficient. It's going to save your biceps and arms from having to use that on the way down, but here they go. It's a race again.
5 seconds the gap between Jonne Koski at 16:20, Lazar Dukic 16:25 to complete that second round, and they have continued to hold a good-sized lead over 3rd place and 4th place. 3rd place currently Luka Dukic, who will be 25 seconds back of the lead. Alex Kotoulas is going to be about 30 seconds back of the lead as they start in on the final round, which begins with that 500-meter row, followed by 20 meters of a handstand walk and 3 legless rope climbs to close out the event.
Giorgos Karavis in the top right, he's going to get across this line, and as soon as he gets across, you're gonna need a break. It is taxing on your shoulders and arms. When you see him hunched over there, it's also on your breath. It takes a toll on your breathing. So being able to walk upside down, it's gonna make you tired. So definitely, you see the fatigue setting in.
And for Giorgos, the question is going to be, where does this time fall? Where does this performance fall amid the other 25 athletes that are doing this event? We're highlighting the top 6 in the point standings, but the rest of the field doing this as well. And so it's a question of where is he going to fall out point-wise. He does have a pretty good lead when it comes to the cut line for the 5 qualifying spots to the games. He's 61 points good, 86 points good to those last chance qualifier spots if he does need one of those 6th or 7th position places. But this performance, at least looking at this top 6, this might put a little bit of doubt there that he can advance. And that lead, he might be using every bit of it.
I'm just thinking, I did this workout, and I was at around this time when I finished my first round of 5 legless rope climbs. So to know that these guys are on their last round puts everything in perspective for us.
Speaking of that last round of handstand walks for both Jonne Koski and Lazar Dukic. They flip upside down about a second apart from each other. Great transitions off the rower into the handstand walk for both. It's Koski with a slight lead of about 3 meters over Lazar Dukic on the top left. And these are 1 and 2 in the point standings, separated by just 4 points entering this event, as Koski is going to put the finishing touches on this 20-meter handstand walk. It's about a 5-meter lead, and he makes his way back to the rope for 3 legless rope climbs. This should be pretty quick, but it's going to be a good race here between Koski and Dukic on who will take the event win, at least out of this group of 6, and possibly the event overall.
You see Lazar Dukic jump up right away. Jonne Koski is going to take a second before he jumps up there. So now it's management of who can, your time management in between each rope climb.
Dukic going back up, making the touch. It's a long break here for Jonne Koski, making sure that he doesn't get a no rep in between, but it's a little bit of time consumed there as he does make the touch for his second rep. Dukic on the way up. Going to make the touch, and he'll take it at 19:32. Lazar Dukic will pull away at the last movement and finally make the pass over Jonne Koski, who has led since the handstand walk in round 1. Koski going to make his way up that rope, and he'll make the touch at 19:48. So 1 and 2 in the point standing should be very, very good to hold those places as we continue through. Luka Dukic is in at 19:52. He may see himself going from outside that cut line to the good side of it and moving into the top 5 at the end of this event. Next finisher should be Alex Kotoulas, one of our 2 Greek athletes here in this heat, and it is at 20:18. Still about 10 minutes under that 30-minute time cap, as Fabian Beneito on the bottom left and Giorgos Karavis on the top right are now working on their final 500-meter row.
500 meters is nothing for these guys. So you're looking at a sub 2 minute. You're on your final push, so you're going to give it everything you have on this last round.
Fabian Beneito in a bit of a precarious position point-wise as he's working on this final set of 20 meters on the handstand walk. 21 points ahead of the cut line for the top 5 positions that will advance to the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games. He's 46 points clear when it comes to the cut line on the last chance qualifier, but he's going to need to have a good, solid final day if he wants to hold on to one of those spots.
Not knowing where anyone else is in this workout, you have to listen to your body and yourself and when you're ready to go.
And Beneito done with the 20-meter handstand walk. 3 legless rope climbs remain for him. Giorgos Karavis continuing to finish that 500-meter row, and the early leader has been struggling here in this group of 6 to close out this event. Should still be good under the time cap by a good margin, as Fabian Beneito good with the first of 3 legless rope climbs. 2 remain for him in this event.
Did you see his descent? He just slid straight down and then popped down. So watch your hands. A little bit of rope burn. There he goes, but very quick and efficient.
Gotta make up time wherever you can, and he's doing that there on that fire pole slide down the rope as Beneito with his final rep. And he's going to inch his way up there, make the touch. 22:17 for Fabian Beneito out of Spain. Giorgos Karavis onto the handstand walk in the 3rd and final round. He's got the 10 of 20 meters done, and it looks like the row was never really the problem for Karavis, as shown in that first 2,000 meters, but these high skill movements just kind of held him back here in this virtual heat of 6.
For some athletes, you know, handstand walking proves to be, you know, it showed up time and time again throughout the games and regionals, but it is a skill that takes time, and it's just a matter of practice. But definitely getting used to being upside down is definitely a big feat.
And Karavis through the 20-meter handstand walk, 3 legless rope climbs left for the third-place athlete entering the final day of competition. Only was 20 points out of the lead coming into this event. Obviously, he's going to take a hit there. Has taken a little bit of time here before getting onto that rope, and might not be a bad thing if he's starting to struggle here on the rope climbs, just to make sure that he doesn't get a no rep, which would be highly costly at this point in the event.
That is the worst thing that can happen. So he's going to make sure that he is good to go. He's going to touch that tape line and then come down. We'll see how much time in between. The biggest thing is that, yes, he doesn't want to fall too far behind in placing in seconds, but you have to make sure that you're going to be able to get each rope climb.
Taking some time, catching his breath, chalking up those hands before getting on that second rep. Not wasting a lot of time once he got those hands chalked up, though. Gets right onto that rope, starting to struggle on that ascent, but I do believe he made the touch, and he did. So 1 rep remains for Karavis.
You'll notice athletes, especially when they get tired, they're going to pull quick ones, and then when they get tired, they're going to have to use that big kip, swing their legs back, use that momentum to reach up.
And 1 final rep here for Giorgos Karavis as he makes his way up the rope. Bit of a fight here on these last couple pulls, but he'll make the touch. 24-48. The big points winner looks to be Luka Dukic, though, who might be moving into the top 5 in the point standings in 3rd here in the heat, but it's Lazar Dukic taking it at 19-32.
Bubble races are heating up, and the first gymnastics portion of Event 5 was a massive turn for Luka Dukic and Giorgos Karavis. Dukic gets through the first 60-meter handstand walk in 2 minutes, then through the rope climbs and back to the rower in another minute 27. Compared to Dukic, Karavis loses 30 seconds on the first handstand walk and over a minute on the rope climbs, and Dukic closes strong to give his game's chances a huge boost.
Huge boost and a huge win. 100 points for Dukic, 19-32, as he edges out Jonne Koski. Luka Dukic, a big 3rd place finish as well, and that definitely helps him in the overall standings. It's Alex Kotoulas and Elliot Simmons rounding out the top 5. Overall standings, Dukic now doubles his lead on Jonne Koski. He goes to 8 points. Alex Kotoulas is in 3rd. Luka Dukic moves into the top 5, and it's Giorgos Karavis hanging on to the 5th and final spot with 357 points. And Derek Forrest spoke with Luka Dukic after event number 5.
You were telling me event 5 is your jam, the one you were looking forward to all weekend long. Just what was it about the workout that you enjoyed?
Yeah, first of all, like when you see 3,500 meter row, like for last 3 years, I was placing really good. Like I think I placed top 20 in all events in the open worldwide that included rowing. So I knew that rowing is like my wheelhouse and that I need to push that. And the legless rope climbs were also my jam. And so it was all about pushing those handstand walks as fast as I can so that I don't lose too much time on them, you know.
Event 5 was a grooved pitch to the Dukic brothers.
I think it could be called the Dukic Jam, as a matter of fact. Lazar ends up doubling his 4-point lead over Jonne Koski to 8 points, and Luka moves into a top 5 qualifying position. Unfortunately for Fabian Beneito, it was not what he needed. He falls out of the top 5. He's 16 points out now.
Over on the women's side, after 4 events coming into the day, this is where the leaderboard stood. Jacqueline Dahlstrom with a 4-point lead over fellow Norwegian Kristin Holte. Katrin Davidsdottir, Emilia Leppa, and then Evie Hollis was the 5th and final woman inside that top 5, but only by 3 points over Emma Tall. Back out now for our featured matchup for the women in Event 5. Brandon Domain and Jamie Hagia on the call, and they start with the box assignments presented by CBD-MD.
6 major contenders for a games qualifying spot here in women's event number 5 on our highlighted heat. Points leader Jacqueline Dahlstrom on the top left, Kristin Holte second place, top middle. Top right is Katrin Davidsdottir, who's moved into third in the point standings after day number 2. Bottom line are going to be athletes surrounding the cut line. Emilia Leppa, Evie Hollis, and Sam Briggs going left to right respectively as we start this 30-minute time cap event to kick off event number 5, day number 3, underway for the women at the German Throwdown. It starts with a 2,000-meter row, and they're going to be settling in for quite some time here to start this event, Jamie.
A 2,000-meter row, you're going to be looking at, for us average and, fit people, but we're looking at like a 4-minute per 1,000-meter row, give or take. But these women, they're going to push a little bit faster on that, knowing that they do have to conserve a little bit because they have high skill movements coming after the row.
After this 2,000-meter row, it'll be a 60-meter handstand walk followed by 5 legless rope climbs. The second round is going to be reduced version of the same triplet, 1,000-meter row, 40-meter handstand walk, 4 legless rope climbs, followed in that third and final round by a 500-meter row, 20-meter handstand walk, 3 legless rope climbs. Again, a 30-minute time cap event. It'll be a much, much longer test here on day number 3 than the one that is coming up in event number 6. But another thing to kind of keep an eye on, too, is the accumulated fatigue and just how they're feeling after these first 2 days, where we saw a lot of shoulders being taxed, but just a good full-body beatdown of these athletes before events.
Day 3, they've gone through 2 days and 4 events. They're starting on their 5th one of day 3. Your body is just sore everywhere. But once you get it warmed up and going, your adrenaline takes over. You see a lot of them have a lot of like gym members or family and friends cheering them on. So definitely that'll help carry them through this workout.
During this highlighted heat of our 6 of our top athletes, we've got 4 different countries represented, but they're competing in 6 different countries, as Jacqueline Dahlstrom and Kristin Holte both representing Norway in first and second in the points, but Dahlstrom competing currently in Spain. Katrin Davidsdottir representing Iceland competing in the USA, and Evie Hollis and Sam Briggs both representing the UK, but Evie Hollis competing in CrossFit Yaz in Abu Dhabi currently. So we're seeing a whole wide spread of things here in this very international event for the German Throwdown. One thing I also want to keep an eye on and remind you about is that red line at the top of every individual box. That is our progress tracker. The farther that red extends towards the right, the farther they are through in progressing event number 5. As we continue on this 2,000-meter row, we should be past that 500-meter mark, around 600 meters at this point as we're 2.5 minutes in. And really, this is just going to be setting up those high-skill movements like you were talking about earlier. What are you kind of looking at once we get to that handstand walk and those legless rope climbs?
I like to actually, during this row, it is longer, it's 2,000 meters. I like to break it up into those like 500 meters, because then you're thinking about, okay, I got there, now I have only 3 left. Or, it gives you kind of milestones to like kind of work towards instead of thinking about this long 2,000 meter row. When you come off, you're going to think about, we have really strong handstand walkers in this event, but so then as soon as they come off, they're going to go straight into it. Because these are such high skill movements, if you take a little bit longer on the row and, give or take 10, 15 seconds, that's not going to be detrimental to you if you can make that up in resting in the handstand walk and the rope climbs later on in this workout.
Mentioned some strong handstand walkers really when it comes to the entire global field of games athletes. Most notably, you would think of Katrin Davidsdottir on the top right, and she's got a bit of momentum going for her as well. She finished 7th place in each of the first 3 events until her win in event number 4 to close out day 2 yesterday with 51 reps on that snatch ladder, where that ended with the max rep portion of it. And she's moved herself into 3rd place in the overall point standings. And just to kind of set the tone here with these point standings, remember, top 5 athletes qualify automatically for the 2021 Noble CrossFit Games. 6th and 7th advance to the last chance qualifier. Jacqueline Dahlstrom and Kristin Holte both over 100 points clear for those top 5 positions, so they should be good, but they do have some work to do still Katrin Davidsdottir 62 points ahead of that cut line. Emilia Leppa in 30 points clear, but then Evie Hollis just 3 points ahead of Emma Tall and 5 points ahead of Sam Briggs. Matilda Garnis only 1 point behind Briggs, so we've got a close race going into this third and final day for both those 5 qualifying spots, but also those 2 last chance qualifier spots, and a lot of work left to do here on this third and final day of competition to sort it out.
Katrin Davidsdottir on your top right and Sam Briggs on your bottom right, they are moving at a pretty quick pace. They're going to drive straight back in, use their legs. As soon as they reach full extension with their legs extended, they're going to drive back in. So they're moving at a little bit quicker pace than some of the other athletes. You'll notice Jacqueline Dahlstrom in the top left, nice and controlled. Again, this isn't one in the row.
The one athlete you point out as a handstand walk side, Katrin Davidsdottir, is one of the notable ones worldwide. When it comes to the row, one of the ones you think about is Sam Briggs, not only because of her engine, but she is one of the more accomplished rowers at her weight class in rowing in general when it comes to that Concept 2 rower. So this might be something where with these 2,000 meter rows, the 1,000 meter row, they could play into her hands in this event if she can make do on the handstand walk and legless rope climbs.
Definitely, and your taller athletes are going to have a little bit more advantage on this row as compared to some of us shorter athletes like myself. We have a little bit more ground to cover. You know, we have to make up time going a little bit quicker because we are not covering as much ground as these taller athletes.
I hear tall athletes everywhere just groaning, going, "Oh, there's something short athletes don't get on the row." As we watch everybody working their way through, should be about 1,500 meters or so into this 2,000 meter row if we're estimating that 8-minute target. As we watch everybody here, and keep in mind, Jacqueline Dahlstrom, Kristin Holte, both representing Norway, and both very close in the point standings, just 4 points separating them for the title here at the German Throwdown, as they've had a great performance all weekend long, and Kristin Holte has just been in the top 5 in every single, top 6 in every single event, including 2 wins in event number 2 and 3. Jacqueline Dahlstrom has been in the top 4 in every single event thus far, including a win in event number 1. Her worst finish, 4th in event number 3. Impressive showing for both these Norwegian athletes.
The name of the game is being consistent and well-rounded. So not having holes in your games too big are going to help out a ton. Especially, you know, you see the range of movements and reps and weights all across these different events. But this is definitely a high skill, definitely cardio breathing piece as well.
Should be getting pretty close to seeing an athlete make their way off the rower for the very first time, and kind of watching the stride, seeing if there's anything changing here. I almost feel like Jacqueline Dahlstrom might be close because she's starting to shorten up a little bit. We should be nearing the final few seconds on this 2,000 meter row before somebody makes their way into that handstand walk and legless rope climbs, and the row is setting up. It's almost the warm-up for these high skill movements here, and it's going to be Jacqueline Dahlstrom, the points leader, first one into the handstand walk, and it's going to be a pretty decent lead going into that, as she'll start on 6 laps down and back, 5 meters each way. Sam Briggs will be second on the bottom right. That no surprise to see her doing well on the row. Katrin Davidsdottir will be third off the rower. Kristin Holte fourth. Look at the speed for Katrin Davidsdottir. Just, it was like a handstand walk trot going across the floor there.
Yes. She knows this is her time to shine. She loves these, and if these are in your wheelhouse, you're going. She's going to go cross that line. As soon as she crosses that, she's going to turn around and come straight back. So in these 5 meter increments, it actually is going to favor some of the athletes who don't love handstand walking because it gives you the chance to come down, you know, reset, and then kick up and go again.
Looks like that might be playing into the hands of Kristin Holte, who's actually passed Katrin Davidsdottir, and it's not so much the pace on the walk itself, but look at how quick her transition time is on those turnarounds after each 5 meter length.
In this workout, it said that you didn't have to actually come down once you pass that line, so they could technically turn around on their hands and come back, but very smart to come down, quick breath, turn around, and then turn around and go back.
Well, now I really want to see somebody do that, though, do that sharp 180 upside down. But Kristin Holte just about doing that with those quick transitions. She's starting to catch Dahlstrom and Briggs, and we might be seeing Kristin Holte take the lead here going into the legless rope climbs. And it's all down to the transition pace, and she's still moving very fast as well on the walk portion, but such quick turnarounds there for our second place athlete after 2 days.
Handstand walking is definitely fatiguing on your shoulders and your upper back, but it also does get a little bit breathy, so these athletes are going to be tired, when we get into these later rounds, so it's managing that as well.
And Kristin Holte done with the handstand walks, and she's going to be moving on to the legless rope climbs, and she has opened up a large lead after being the 4th athlete off the rower. She'll get onto the rope and complete a rep, and Katrin Davidsdottir just now done with the handstand walk. Jacqueline Dahlstrom just starting on her first rope climb. So Kristin Holte has vaulted herself from 4th to 1st and has opened up a decent-sized lead as it takes about 10 seconds or so, as Dahlstrom actually hanging there at the top for a little bit before making her descent on that first rep. But Holte now already through 2.
Depending on how comfortable you are, and legless rope climbs are going to take, it is a lot of strength in your upper body, so you're going to be feeling this burn in your biceps, and so it is a matter of managing that time in between, because we definitely don't want to get any no reps on these legless rope climbs.
Holte making her way up for the 3rd rep, Davidsdottir for her 2nd on the top right screen. Dahlstrom through 2, starting on her 3rd rep of 5.
Jacqueline Dahlstrom in the top left, she has a big kip, and she's going to be using that to help her up. When you look at the top middle, and like Kristin Holte, she's going to have these quick little runs, pull it into her chest. So there are different styles of rope climbing. When you get tired, you might have to resort to that big kip to get up there, like Kristin Holte just in that top middle.
Holte done with her 4th rep. Davidsdottir making her way up on the 3rd, so it's still a 1 rep lead for Holte over Dahlstrom. As Dahlstrom making her way back up to the top. There's those big swinging kips. And one thing that she's done thus far, I'm curious if she does it again here, is this pause that she has at the top. And it's like she's hanging onto the beam. It looks like that's something so she can kind of hook her feet in, just a comfort thing. But that's an interesting thing you don't see a whole lot of.
I haven't seen that, but hey, if it's working, as soon as you touch that tape line, you want to get your feet around that rope so that you're giving your arms a break.
Kristin Holte on to the 2nd round, and this is going to be a pretty good margin as Davidsdottir making the touch on rep number 4, Dahlstrom making her way up on rep number 5. Holte already has been on the rower for a good 15 seconds, though. There's that delayed descent again for Dahlstrom, but she's going to start on this 2nd round, but still going to be about 25 seconds behind Holte, who was the 4th athlete off the rower the first time around, so we might see Dahlstrom catch up to Holte, but on the high skill movements, it has been all Kristin Holte.
These legless rope climbs, they really, really are, going to take a toll on muscle fatigue and muscle failure. So I think it's a matter of making sure, and this is 12 reps in total. You have 5 in this round, 4 in the next one, and then 3 in that last round. So it's definitely being smart and breaking that up.
Katrin Davidsdottir will be the 4th athlete onto the rower, but just ahead of her is going to be Sam Briggs, and this could be a huge points moment for Briggs, who entered this event 7th place in the point standings, which is the last qualifying spot for the last chance qualifier, but she's trying to move outright into one of those qualifying spots for the 2021 No Bowl CrossFit Games by finishing in the top 5, and with a performance like she's having thus far in this event, she might be moving herself into that position.
Day 3 of any competition, and your last and final day, you are exhausted, but you need to give everything you have to these last final 2 events, because within seconds or points, that is determining if you make it to the CrossFit Games or not. So all these athletes are definitely leaving everything they have out here on the floor.
No real surprise to see Games veterans out in front here. Jacqueline Dahlstrom looking to make the Games for a 2nd time. She was 1 spot out from qualifying at the 2018 regionals. but did finish 45th in the 2019 games, looking to go back for the second time. Kristin Holte, Katrin Davidsdottir, Sam Briggs, all long-time games athletes, and two of them being former champions in their own right. Holte, a silver medalist as well, so a lot of experience here leading the way in event number 5, as Evie Hollis, one of the potential games rookies should she qualify, is onto the rower as well to start round number 2. This is the 1,000-meter row, followed by a 40-meter handstand walk and 4 legless rope climbs. So we're about halfway through this 30-minute time cap.
Speaking on those veterans, they have so much experience in so many events that they've done. So they know when they need to push, when they need to back off a little bit. They know if they're going to fail a rep, they need to take just a couple more seconds before they go. So definitely fun to watch these veterans navigate through this workout.
Now, the only athlete not on to round number 2 just yet is Emilia Leppa, and she is really having a fight on these legless rope climbs. She'll come back down to the ground, but still working on this set of 5, and this is big-time danger for our 4th place athlete entering this event, as she was only 30 points clear of 6th place, which would be that cut line for the qualifying spot, but just 53 points clear of the last chance qualifying spots. So this is going to be one of those dangerous point maintenance kind of moments here, trying to save as many points as she can, as we're in the second half of this time cap, but she's still working on finishing off round number 1.
I remember being in this type of position where that final day, the first event out of the 2, it didn't go so well. So it put a lot of pressure on myself to do well in that last and final event. So definitely you want to try to do maintenance control here. If she's not so comfortable with legless rope climbs and handstand walking, just do the best she can to try to set herself up for that final event. But doing a great job managing those rope climbs, because we don't want any no reps.
And she is now on to the row for the 1,000 meters to start round 2 at 16:20. Going to be a good 4 minutes behind Kristin Holte, who is on to the 40-meter handstand walk and moving just as fluidly as she did in that first round.
Quick turnarounds. And she is handstand walking quickly. She's getting across that line, kicking down, going straight back up into those handstand walks.
I feel like this event plays well into the hands of both Holte and Briggs because of the engine factor with this 30-minute time cap, a bit of a longer event at this point in the weekend, and you throw in a lot of rowing as well. This really suits well for them to start this final day. It'll be Holte 1, Dahlström 2, Briggs 3, as they maintain their positions on the row, but Dahlström did cut about 10 seconds or so out of that lead of Kristin Holte over that 1,000-meter row, but Holte already through the 40-meter handstand walk and about to make her way onto that set of 4 legless rope climbs, and we'll see if those will continue to not at all be a problem for her here in the second round.
Now, even though the rowing does take up a lot of the time of this workout, I feel like it's more of an annoyance just to make you more fatigued so that you don't get to these high skills, fresh.
Definitely the meat of the workout time-wise, but it's not so much the skill portion there, just kind of surviving that one as Holte making her way back up the rope to continue to open up a lead. Still yet to have anybody else begin a rope climb in round number 2 as Dahlström is being chased down by Sam Briggs. Looks like Briggs has taken the second position away from Jacqueline Dahlstrom. But Kristin Holte continuing to just pull away here in this event. The row is the only place she's lost any time, and all she'll have left is 500 meters out of 3,500 total in event number 5. And Holte just 1 rep away from getting to that third and final round. We're just past 18.5 minutes in our half-hour time cap event.
Not to mention, I was able to test this one out this morning, which I was just about finishing the first round of 5 legless rope climbs, and to know that they're on the second and going into their third is really, very impressive. But going from those legless rope climbs straight into that row, your forearms and your shoulders and your biceps are burning, so you need to get going with your legs as she finishes her last one, is heading over.
Unbelievable job here for Kristin Holte. She's on to the row, final round, 500-meter row, 20-meter handstand walk, 3 legless rope climbs, and she has a significant lead, probably going to be about a 1-minute interval by the time Dahlstrom or Briggs starts on round number 3, and Holte is just cruising through this one.
And Kristin was able to get such a big lead at the top middle because her handstand walking was so fast and efficient, and because she didn't take very many long breaks in between her legless rope climbs. So that definitely set her ahead, because obviously the rowing is going to be pretty similar across the board for a lot of these athletes.
So while Holte continues a dominant lead, we'll watch the race for second, third, and fourth between Dahlstrom on the top left, Davidsdottir on the top right, and Briggs on the bottom right. Evie Hollis is working on the handstand walk in round number 2. Emilia Leppa in the bottom left, working on finishing off the row in round number 2. And we got a close race, though, between these 3 for second.
The fun part about this workout is that, you know, the rowing is going to be a cardio piece to get your heart rate up a little bit, but you're pulling, right, and more of like a horizontal pull. Then your handstand walking, you're turning upside down. It's going to be more of a pressing up in your shoulders, and then the rope climb is going to be more of a vertical pull. So definitely you're hitting all different types of pulling in this workout.
And Sam Briggs going to move into the second position at the end of round number 2 and back onto the rower to try to chase down Kristin Holte, but it should be too little too late, barring any disaster for Holte, as she's got about that 1-minute lead over Briggs in second, Dahlstrom in third through round number 2, Davidsdottir. I believe she has 1 rope climb remaining before heading back to the rower for that third round.
This last 500-meter row, you know, you're looking sub 2 minutes. So we got to move on this, because you know all you have left is your last 20-meter handstand walks and 3 legless rope climbs.
Kristin Holte done with the row. 20 meters should be about, the way she's moving, maybe 3 seconds as she starts on this first 5-meter interval, making her way back, and she's already halfway through the 20-meter handstand walk, which has not been a problem at all for the 2019 second-place athlete at the Games. And this is just going to be a dominant wire-to-wire win, just about, since she got off the rower in round number 1. She came off that in 4th, quickly took the lead, has not looked back, and just 3 legless rope climbs remain for Holte.
Such an incredible athlete to watch. Here she goes in the top middle, her first rope climb. Hits that line, she's going to get her feet around, slide down, just 2 left.
Still looks just as fast as she did in the first round. That is absolutely incredible.
That might be the most impressive part, is that her fatigue doesn't seem to set in at all.
And 1 rep remains for Holte as she makes the touch, wraps the feet. Now keep in mind, still have 25 athletes that are also completing this event, so their times will factor in, but in this virtual heat of 6 of our top contenders, starting day number 3, Kristin Holte putting on a show, and that Krieger mentality that she talks about, sorry if I butchered that, if there's any accent to it, but that mentality that she talks about paying dividends here as she's putting the finishing touches on what could be a event win in event number 5, just past 23 minutes in, making that ascent up the rope for the third and final time in the third and final round. And Kristin Holte will make the touch at 23:16. Impressive performance for the second place athlete after 2 days to start off our third and final day of competition.
You love to see that. You saw a big crowd around her, you know, almost getting a feel of that live competition on that floor. So definitely the crowd will play into that. When they're cheering you on, you are pushing for yourself, you're pushing for them. But that extra boost of, you know, energy definitely will help you get that last rep.
Meanwhile, second place, Sam Briggs, bottom right onto the rope climbs as well. She's doing 1 of 3 reps. As Jacqueline Dahlstrom trying to hold off Katrin Davidsdottir on the handstand walk for the race for third place. As Evie Hollis on the row in 5th. On the bottom middle, Dahlstrøm is going to be just ahead of Davidsdottir as she gets onto the rope first. Briggs through 2 reps of 3. Dahlstrøm now through 1 rep as she makes the touch. And Davidsdottir finishing off the final 5 meters of that 20-meter handstand walk. So we might have a great race here for third if Davidsdottir can make up some ground on these 3 final legless rope climbs. But the race for second is going to belong to Sam Briggs here in this virtual heat of 6. She's got about 1 pull left on this rope. Bit of a fight here for Briggs, trying to hang on and avoid the no rep, and she does. 24:37, about 1 minute 20 seconds back from our heat winner. Second rep good for Dahlstrøm. Davidsdottir good on her last rep, or first rep. That nasty battle mentally of should you go, should you wait, do you want to make sure that you don't get that no rep, are you ready? That's got to be the toughest part when it comes to these legless rope climbs. It's just that mental side of knowing when you're good to go. Third and final ascent for Jacqueline Dahlstrom. She'll make the touch at 25:24. Davidsdottir 1 rep remaining, and she should be good to hold off Evie Hollis for 5th here as Evie is finishing off the 500-meter row.
That definitely plays into this. You know, you want to go, you know, you see that clock counting down, you see it, you know, adding seconds to your time, but you really have to make sure, like, that's that battle of, am I ready, can I go, should I wait a couple more seconds? But a lot of these athletes know themselves, and they know that they're going to be able to hang on to that rope, and they'll do anything they can to hang on to that rope to get that final rep.
It's a good example of it right now for Katrin Davidsdottir. It's been a good 30 seconds or so between her last good rep and just now starting on this third and final rope climb, being very conservative, making sure that she doesn't get a no rep here as she's now halfway up, putting the finishing touches. Should be about a pull or 2 away. And there's the touch for Katrin Davidsdottir at 26:21. Evie Hollis working on the handstand walk. She's now halfway through this final round of 20 meters. And Emilia Leppa on the bottom left, still working on that set of 4 legless rope climbs in round number 2 with about 3.5 minutes left until our 30-minute time cap.
Did you see Katrin Davidsdottir before she went for her final rep? She kind of shook out her arms, you know, because all that, it's in her biceps. You can feel it in there, and you want to make sure that that doesn't fail you.
Think about it, yes, we had a lot of shoulder wear over the first 2 days of competition, but this event, it's just so much grip between the rope climb, and I feel like there's a little bit also in that handstand walk with the way all the pressure on your hands. That's just going to add to that fatigue level even more. It just feels like such a forearm burner of an event here.
Luckily, they have one last event. It is a little bit shorter, but it will definitely, you know, trying to hang on to that rope, that is the toughest part, especially when you're exhausted. And this is no, you know, 3 legless rope climbs at the very end of all this work, and on top of your third and final day. This is a difficult task for them in this event 5.
Evie Hollis is through 1 of 3 legless rope climbs here to put the finishing touches on round number 3. Good weekend for her on day number 1, especially 5th and 2nd. Day number 2, doing a little bit of damage control in those events with a couple of mid-pack finishes, a 16th and a 15th, but she enters today 5th place in the point standings. So she is that bubble athlete trying to hang on to one of those 5 games qualifying spots. Not bad for somebody that was 88th in the world and the 17th seed here in the German Throwdown. Finding herself in the top 5 on the final day of competition. And she has 1 rope climb remaining, 90 seconds to get there ahead of the time cap.
You'll see her get right underneath that rope, jump up as high as she can. That's going to take away a couple extra pulls.
Evie Hollis represented the UK, competing at a CrossFit Yaz. She's done at 28:41, and Emilia Leppa will be our last athlete left. And this is going to be a race against the time cap, and I don't think she's going to get there with the amount of work that's left with a 20-meter handstand walk and 3 legless rope climbs. She's got a minute left as she starts on the handstand walk.
I love how Evie Hollis, after her last, she was holding on and put her other hand up in the air. She was so happy to be done.
As Emilia Leppa in, finishing the second length here. 2 lengths remaining, 5 meters separating each, but we're in the final 30 seconds. Just another reminder of, man, these events, they're a lot more difficult than some of the athletes let them look like, at least, as Leppa still getting through a lot of work here in this one. They're going to come up short against the time cap as we're in the final 15 seconds. Trying to get across that line to complete the handstand walk portion of this final round, and she does. But she's not going to have time to get to a legless rope climb, so she'll be good on 68 official reps. But the heat winner is going to be our second place athlete entering the final day of competition, Kristin Holte, impressively 23-16.
We had a back and forth battle between Sam Briggs and Emma Tall. Briggs was first off the 2K row and onto the handstand walk. Tall overtakes Briggs during the 60-meter handstand walk and is first to the rope climbs. Briggs starts to claw back during the 1K row, but Tall gets off the rower and immediately jumps into the handstand walk, waving off partner and 2020 Games athlete David Shirunki. She puts a minute between her and Briggs going into the final round and holds strong through to the finish.
Third event win for Kristin Holte with a time of 23:16. Emma Tall, that will help her, the second place finish, and it's Samantha Briggs finishing in third place. As a result, Kristin Holte is now back on top of the overall leaderboard by 8 points over Jacqueline Dahlstrom, Katrin Davidsdottir, Emma Tall in fourth, and then Sam Briggs moves into the top 5, but only by 6 points over Emilia Leppa. After event number 5, Derek Forrest caught up with the woman in second place, Jacqueline Dahlstrom.
Jacqueline, you came into the day in the top spot. You mentioned battling it out all weekend long with Kristin Holte. Just talk about talk about the weekend. What was it like, and what was this battle like with Kristin all weekend long?
Well, I you know, it's really cool to kind of be breathing her down the neck a bit, because she has been, and so she obviously still is the CrossFit Queen of Norway. But that, you know, I'm kind of pushing her a bit. That's obviously very cool to, like, you know, finally I can at least give her some competition. So it's been really cool. Yesterday when the results first went live, we were actually joint points again. So on the day 1, I got a first, she got a first, I got a third, she got a third. So we had like exactly the same points with also the same tie break. And then the results went live yesterday at 10 o'clock, and then we had exactly the same points again. She then had a better tie break because she had the first and I had the second. But still, I was like, when I saw that, I just started laughing. I was like, it shouldn't be possible, you know? But yeah, no, it's cool to see like that we kind of that we're both there up on the top, representing Norway.
This battle between Kristin Holte and Jacqueline Dahlstrom, while unexpected, has been a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, it's epic, and it's all we could ask for in a weekend competition. You know, they're tied for first after 2 events. Holte takes it after 3. It goes over to Jacqueline after 4. Now Kristin Holte has it again by 8 points, and we're going into a sprint event where every second is going to count. So a really fun way to end the weekend for these ladies.
Great battle on top of the leaderboard, and a really exciting battle developing for that 5th and final spot.
Right, so going into this event, just 5 points separated Evie Hollis, Emma Tall, and Sam Briggs. We have the event, and it's a big move from both Emma Tall, who got second place in this event, and Sam Briggs, who got third, to move them both into the top 5. Unfortunately, Evie Hollis falls out. She's now in 7th place and 35 points out of a qualifying position. But again, we have a sprint finish, just like the sprint beginning, which means, you know, a couple of seconds can make all the difference, and it should be a really good battle to the end with all 3 of these ladies.
That will do it for our individual coverage of event number 5 for the CrossFit German Throwdown. Be sure to keep checking in with the CrossFit Games YouTube channel and the CrossFit Games Facebook page, as we will have more coverage throughout the day from the other 2 virtual semifinal events that are taking place this weekend, the Brazil CrossFit Championship and the CrossFit Lowlands Throwdown. For Annie Sakamoto, I'm Sean Woodland. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.